My child, before another ordinary moment slips quietly past you, remain here just a little longer, because not every truth arrives with loud footsteps. Some truths choose silence. Some wait until your heart is calm enough to recognize them. And today, something has gently led you to this very moment, not to rush you, not to overwhelm you, but to place a small light where uncertainty once lived. If you've ever wondered why certain thoughts keep returning, why one name still echoes through peaceful moments, or why your heart senses a story that your eyes cannot yet see, then listen closely. This is not a race toward answers. It is a quiet walk toward understanding. Don't skip, because what unfolds over these next few moments may help you see something that has been hidden in plain sight all along. There is something fascinating about the way two lives can move at the same time without standing in the same place. While you have been living your days, making small decisions, carrying private hopes, and quietly growing through experiences that almost nobody noticed, another journey has also been unfolding. It has not been perfect. It has not been dramatic every single day. Instead, it has been made of countless little moments that slowly shape a person's heart. That is why the deepest changes rarely announce themselves. They happen quietly, one thought at a time, one realization after another, until one day everything feels different without anyone being able to point to the exact moment it changed. You may have imagined that your soulmate story has been standing still while you waited for your own answers. But life rarely works that way. Even now, they are learning lessons that cannot be rushed. They are noticing details they once ignored. They are discovering parts of themselves they never expected to question. And perhaps the most surprising part is that many of those quiet discoveries are preparing them to recognize connections with greater honesty than before. Growth often happens where no audience exists. It happens during ordinary afternoons, peaceful evenings, thoughtful conversations, and silent reflections that never appear remarkable from the outside. Sometimes people believe that truth arrives like a sudden flash of lightning. Yet the most meaningful truth usually feels more like sunrise. At first, the sky barely changes. Then another small color appears. Another. Another. Before anyone realizes it, darkness has gently stepped aside. That is how understanding often enters a person's heart. Not through pressure. Not through fear. Through patient moments that slowly replace confusion with clarity. Perhaps you have felt a strange calm recently without fully understanding why. Perhaps certain memories have returned, not to keep you trapped in yesterday, but to remind you how much you have already become. Growth has quietly been happening within you too. Every disappointment taught something valuable. Every unanswered question shaped your patience. Every unexpected delay strengthened parts of your character that easier seasons never could have built. None of those moments were empty. They were quietly preparing you to recognize what truly matters when it finally stands before you. Now imagine another person experiencing a similar journey without even realizing how closely those paths resemble each other. Imagine someone beginning to appreciate sincerity over excitement, peace over uncertainty, kindness over appearances. These are not dramatic transformations. They are the kinds of changes that become visible only after enough time has passed. They are the changes that last. There is another reason you arrived here today. It is because your heart has been searching for reassurance, not predictions. Deep inside, you have not been asking, will everything happen exactly as I imagine? Instead, you have been asking something much quieter. Can genuine connection still exist in a world that changes so quickly? That question deserves more than a simple answer. It deserves a story that unfolds with patience. Stay till the end, because the next realization is easy to miss if we move too quickly. What someone is truly doing is not always measured by visible actions. Sometimes the most important work happens inside their thoughts. A person may appear ordinary on the outside while privately becoming someone completely different within. They may be letting go of old fears. They may be releasing expectations they carried for years. They may be discovering that the future they once imagined is no longer the future they truly want. Those invisible moments matter more than almost anything the world can see. And here is something beautiful that many people overlook. Hearts often recognize change before minds are able to explain it. That is why certain moments feel unexpectedly meaningful. That is why familiar songs suddenly sound different. That is why peaceful evenings sometimes carry a feeling that words cannot fully describe. The heart notices gentle shifts long before logic catches up. If you have ever worried that meaningful connections disappear simply because time passes, let that thought rest for a while. Time does not only create distance. It also creates wisdom. It softens unnecessary pride. It reshapes priorities. It teaches people which voices bring peace and which only create noise. Those lessons cannot be borrowed. Each person must experience them for themselves. Something important is waiting for you, but it is not arriving through hurry. It is arriving through understanding. Every calm moment you choose instead of panic. Every hopeful thought you protect instead of abandoning. Every quiet decision to keep growing rather than becoming bitter. These things matter more than you realize because they shape the person you become before your next important chapter begins. Now the atmosphere feels different, doesn't it? Not because everything has suddenly changed around you, but because your perspective has started changing within you. That is often where every meaningful journey truly begins. The answers you seek are becoming clearer, not because someone whispered them directly into your ear, but because your own heart is finally becoming ready to recognize them when they appear. Yet there is one quiet detail that has remained hidden until now. It is small enough that many people would overlook it completely, but once you notice it, the entire picture begins to make sense. And that gentle discovery is only beginning to reveal itself. The quietest moments often carry the greatest turning points, and this is one of them. What seemed ordinary only a short while ago is beginning to reveal a pattern that could not have been understood any earlier. There are seasons when life intentionally keeps certain pieces apart, not because they do not belong together, but because each piece still has something important to become. That is why you should never measure a meaningful connection only by what is visible today. Some of the strongest foundations are built long before anyone notices the building itself. Stay a little longer, because the next layer of this story is unfolding so gently that it could easily be missed. At this very stage of the journey, your soulmate is not simply moving through another routine day. They are paying closer attention to the little things than they ever have before. A familiar place suddenly reminds them of a conversation they once overlooked. A quiet drive becomes longer than expected because their thoughts refuse to stay silent. A simple smile from a stranger unexpectedly reminds them how powerful genuine kindness can be. None of these moments seem extraordinary on their own, yet together they are quietly reshaping the way they understand connection. It is interesting how the heart sometimes begins asking different questions before the mind realizes anything has changed. Instead of wondering who appears the most impressive, they are beginning to wonder who brings the deepest sense of peace. Instead of chasing excitement for its own sake, they are becoming curious about consistency, honesty, and quiet loyalty. These questions do not arrive overnight. They grow slowly, almost invisibly, until one day they become impossible to ignore. Perhaps you have experienced something similar yourself. Maybe there were things you once believed were essential that no longer feel important. Maybe the qualities you value today are very different from those you admired years ago. That is not coincidence. It is growth. Real growth gently rearranges priorities without asking permission. It changes the way people see others, the way they see themselves, and even the way they imagine tomorrow. Your soulmate is walking through that kind of transformation now. Not dramatically. Not perfectly. Simply one realization after another. They are beginning to appreciate conversations that leave them feeling understood instead of exhausted. They notice the difference between temporary attention and lasting care. They are learning that the loudest voices are not always the wisest ones, and that the calmest presence often carries the greatest strength. There is another detail hidden beneath all of this. While they are discovering these lessons, they are unknowingly becoming more capable of recognizing the kind of connection they once might have overlooked. Life has a remarkable way of preparing people before placing something meaningful in front of them. It teaches patience before trust. It teaches gratitude before abundance. It teaches understanding before lasting companionship. Every lesson has its purpose, even when it feels slow. Don't skip, because what comes next is one of the quiet truths that many people spend years trying to understand. People often imagine that destiny is made of enormous events. Yet so much of life changes through tiny choices that nobody celebrates. Choosing honesty instead of pretending. Choosing forgiveness instead of carrying unnecessary weight. Choosing hope when discouragement would have been easier. Those seemingly small decisions slowly create an entirely different future. And while these choices are quietly shaping your soulmate, they are also shaping you. Think about the strength you carry today that you did not have before. Think about the wisdom hidden inside experiences you once wished had never happened. Every chapter left something valuable behind. Some gave confidence. Some gave compassion. Others simply taught you how to remain gentle without becoming fragile. None of that has been wasted. There is something almost beautiful about two separate journeys growing stronger at the same time without realizing how closely they mirror one another. While one heart is learning to trust again, another is learning to wait with grace. While one person is discovering the value of sincerity, another is discovering the courage to remain authentic. These paths may look separate from above, yet they are quietly moving toward greater understanding. You may wonder why this realization feels so personal today. It is because your heart has already begun noticing signs that your mind has not fully explained. Sometimes you feel unexpectedly peaceful for no obvious reason. Sometimes a certain memory returns, not to keep you living in the past, but to remind you how far you have come. Sometimes you sense that your story is still unfolding even when nothing around you appears different. Those feelings deserve your attention. They are gentle reminders that growth often happens beneath the surface before it becomes visible. Something important is waiting for you, but it does not arrive wrapped in noise. It arrives through clarity. It arrives through quiet confidence. It arrives when you begin seeing your own life not as a collection of delays, but as a carefully unfolding journey where every season has contributed something meaningful. Now imagine your soulmate pausing for just a moment longer than usual today. Not because someone asked them to. Not because they expected anything unusual to happen. Simply because their heart felt drawn toward reflection. During that quiet pause, they begin connecting thoughts that had remained scattered for a long time. Small memories begin fitting together like pieces of a picture they had never fully completed. Familiar feelings suddenly make more sense than they ever did before. And without realizing it, they are standing at the edge of an understanding that will gently influence every decision that follows. They cannot see the full picture yet. Neither can you. But both stories are slowly moving toward a place where confusion gives way to clarity, where uncertainty becomes quieter, and where what once seemed impossible begins feeling surprisingly natural. The most remarkable part, however, has not happened yet. There is one simple moment so ordinary that almost anyone else would ignore it that is about to reveal what your soulmate has truly been doing beneath the surface all this time. And when that moment arrives, everything you have heard so far will begin fitting together in a completely new way. Not every revelation arrives with a dramatic entrance. Sometimes it begins with a single quiet pause, a moment so ordinary that almost anyone would walk past it without noticing. Yet this is where the story gently shifts. This is where hidden pieces begin finding each other. If you have stayed this far, then allow your heart to remain open just a little longer, because what unfolds now is not about chasing certainty, it is about recognizing a truth that has been growing patiently beneath the surface all along. Your soulmate has been doing something they never expected themselves to do. They have been slowing down. In a world that constantly encourages people to rush toward the next distraction, they have quietly started creating space for reflection. They are becoming more comfortable sitting with their own thoughts instead of running from them. They are discovering that silence is not empty. It is often where the clearest answers begin to form. At first, they didn't even notice the change. It happened in simple ways. They found themselves looking out of a window a little longer than usual. They reread an old message without focusing on the words themselves but on the feeling those words carried. They paused during ordinary routines because something inside them whispered that there was more to understand than they had allowed themselves to see before. Those quiet pauses have become meaningful. Not because they reveal every answer instantly, but because they are teaching your soulmate to recognize what truly deserves their attention. They are beginning to separate temporary emotions from lasting values. They are learning that peace feels different from excitement, and that genuine connection rarely asks someone to become someone else. Perhaps this is why you have sensed that something has been changing even though you could not explain it. Hearts often notice shifts before the mind finds language for them. There are days when you suddenly feel lighter without knowing why. There are moments when hope quietly returns after being absent for far too long. There are evenings when your thoughts become calmer, almost as though an invisible weight has gently lifted from your shoulders. That feeling matters. It is a reminder that not every meaningful change begins outside of you. Some of the greatest transformations happen within, where nobody applauds them, where nobody posts about them, where nobody even realizes they are happening. Yet those invisible changes often shape the future more than anything else ever could. Stay till the end, because there is another layer that has remained hidden until now. Your soulmate has also begun noticing patterns they once ignored. Certain conversations stay with them longer than expected. Certain acts of kindness leave a deeper impression than they once did. Certain memories return not to create regret, but to offer understanding. Instead of asking, "What did I lose?" they are slowly beginning to ask, "What have I learned?" That question changes everything. When a person begins searching for lessons instead of disappointments, their entire perspective quietly transforms. They become more patient, more thoughtful, more appreciative of sincerity. They begin recognizing qualities that cannot be measured by appearances or first impressions. Without fully realizing it, your soulmate is becoming someone who values emotional peace above temporary excitement. They are discovering that the strongest relationships are rarely built on perfect moments. They are built on trust that grows one honest conversation at a time, one kind gesture at a time, one quiet decision after another. Now think about your own journey. How many times have you become stronger without realizing it? How many moments that once felt uncertain later became the reason you understood yourself more deeply? Growth has never announced itself with loud celebrations. It has always arrived quietly, leaving gentle evidence behind for those willing to look closely. Something important is waiting for you, but perhaps it is not what you first imagined. Perhaps the greatest gift is not simply discovering what another person has been doing. Perhaps it is realizing how beautifully your own heart has continued growing while life was teaching lessons that could never be rushed. There is a remarkable balance beginning to appear. While you have been learning patience, they have been learning clarity. While you have been protecting hope, they have been discovering gratitude. While you have been wondering whether meaningful connections still exist, they have been slowly becoming the kind of person who can truly recognize one. These journeys are no longer moving randomly. They are beginning to move with purpose. And then, something unexpectedly gentle happens. During an ordinary moment, your soulmate notices someone speaking with complete authenticity. No performance. No need to impress anyone. Just quiet honesty. That simple interaction stays with them long after the conversation ends. It reminds them that the most unforgettable people are rarely the loudest. They are the ones who make others feel safe enough to be themselves. That realization continues echoing through their thoughts. For the first time in a long while, they stop measuring life by how quickly things happen. Instead, they begin appreciating the people and moments that bring lasting peace. That quiet shift changes the direction of their heart more than they realize. And somewhere within your own journey, a similar realization is beginning to awaken. You no longer need every answer immediately. You no longer need every chapter explained before you can appreciate today's page. You are learning to trust the process of becoming. That is why this story feels different now. It is no longer about wondering whether something meaningful exists. It is about recognizing that meaningful things often grow so quietly that they seem invisible until the exact moment they are ready to be seen. Yet there is still one final piece that has remained completely hidden. It is not a conversation. It is not a coincidence. It is not a dramatic event. It is a single realization inside your soulmate's heart, one they have not spoken aloud to anyone, that quietly connects every moment you've heard so far. And when that silent realization finally reaches the surface, the truth you have been waiting to understand will begin revealing itself in a way neither of you expected.